So here we now enter the final full week of the presidential election, and it begins with Hillary Clinton again on the defensive over those emails. This after the FBI Director James Comey delivered an explosive October surprise on Friday afternoon. His agency is looking at potentially hundreds of thousands of newly discovered emails. As we say good morning, it's a trick or it's a treat. It is what it is for now. As we go through this today on a Monday, I'm Bill Hemmer. Welcome here to America's Newsroom. How you doing?
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Trick or treat is right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum. So this news, as you know, on Friday afternoon sent shockwaves across Washington and turned this election season on its head. At the center of it all, longtime Hillary Clinton aide Huma Abedin and her estranged husband. Unbelievable that this name worked into this story at this point as well. Former Congressman Anthony Weiner. This reportedly began on October the 3rd when agents investigating him for allegedly sexting a 15-year-old came across a laptop that he had shared with his wife, Huma Abedin. But FBI Director James Comey wasn't fully briefed about the existence of these emails until much later. That happened on October the 27th.
So we are told as many as 650,000 messages related to the Clinton email investigation might be involved. The FBI obtaining a warrant to dig into those emails even further. However, it is not clear how many of those emails, if any, relate to the Clinton case. It is also not clear whether or not there are entirely new emails among them or just copies of emails the FBI has seen already.
So reaction has been swift, as you would imagine, from both campaigns. Trump seizing on the news, while the Clinton campaign is demanding an explanation.
Director Comey owes it to the American people, releasing this just a matter of days before the election to provide all the information. That's what we're asking. Just get all of it out there, and the voters can judge for themselves.
How do you get to 650? I think that's called the mother load. I think they found them all. How do you have that many emails? What do? Sit down all day and just keep typing? No wonder nothing gets done in our country. This is the single biggest scandal since Watergate.
So Fox team coverage begins our morning. Mike Emanuel's with the Clinton team. Byron York standing by for analysis. But we start now with Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge working this story since it broke on Friday and again throughout the weekend. Catherine, at 9 o'clock this morning, where do we stand now?
Well, Bill, a government source confirms that the metadata on Anthony Weiner's computer has turned up positive hits for the Clinton emails. Metadata in this case is like the address on a letter. You know who it's to and from, but not the content. Meantime, an intelligence source told Fox late yesterday it is, quote, a virtual certainty that new records are on the computer and likely contain classified information. It was the sheer volume of data that drove the decision to reboot the email case. As New York FBI investigators began sifting through Weiner's computer records in early October, they found emails from Huma Abedin, which did not seem surprising since both Abedin and Weiner had access to the laptop. The New York FBI team then had to get new authorizations to do a deeper dive on the metadata, and that is when the hits linked to the Clinton account, and they were uncovered. Abedin told the FBI in April that she sent State Department emails, including ones like this from Clinton, to her personal Yahoo account, where it was easier to print. And in June, Abedin swore under oath in a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit that she looked through all her devices that could hold government emails. That claim is now in doubt. Meantime, last night on Special Report, the Republican chairman of the Benghazi Select Committee, which is the committee that first uncovered the private account, said the FBI director is not to blame for the box that he's in.
Jim Comey's not responsible for a single one of the facts at hand. He didn't tell her to use a private server. He didn't tell Huma not to turn over all of her devices. And God knows he didn't tell Anthony Weiner to send sexually explicit texts to allegedly underage people.
Given the sheer volume of records, law enforcement sources have told us consistently since the end of last week that they have no expectation that a thorough review can be complete before Election Day, Bill.
All right, so now, what are we learning about the Clinton Foundation investigation through all this?
Well, Bill, in January, Fox News first reported as part of its ongoing investigation of the Clinton emails that the email case itself had expanded to public corruption and the Clinton Foundation, and whether the intersection of the charity's work and government contracts amounted to pay for play. And over the weekend, a former FBI executive told CNN that despite what the Justice Department had told reporters, these investigations had not been shut down and that the FBI agents involved had continued to pursue these leads. Late yesterday, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Justice Department had been tapping the brakes on these cases, and in the summer, it came to a head when Justice learned that the FBI agents were still pursuing public corruption leads. Justice Department leadership was, to say the least, beyond upset, Bill.
You just heard from Congressman Gowdy there a moment ago. In a moment, he will join us live. We'll get his reaction as to where the story goes from here, so stand by for that, Mark.
Looking forward to that. So meanwhile, the Clinton team is pushing back, now demanding the release of all the information that is related to the FBI's investigation. Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel live at the White Plains, New York, I should say, today. So, Mike, what's the mood at the Clinton team right now?
Martha, stressed, mad, worried. This was a political earthquake on an issue that has troubled the Clinton campaign from the very beginning. Hillary Clinton's private email server. They thought it was over this summer, and now it's back. In Florida yesterday, Clinton made reference to dealing with adversity.
No matter what is thrown our way, we are not going to back down. We are not going to give up. We're going to reject anyone who tries to drag us backwards. And we are going to remember that if God loves us all, we are commanded to try to love each other.
The strategy at this point seems to be putting massive pressure on FBI Director James Comey to at least give the appearance that they are not worried about what is in those emails. Martha?
So how big of a change would you say you're picking up on in terms of the way they felt about things last week and today, Mike?
Martha, it's been a stunning shift. There was talk at the highest levels of the campaign last week about overconfidence, but Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee, and her team were feeling great. They were reading the polls, and they felt like they were in a great spot. She brought back birthday cake to reporters at one point last week. She even took a question about after the election.
I certainly intend to reach out to Republicans and independents, the elected leadership of the Congress, which you mentioned. I'm going to be doing everything I can to reach out to people who didn't vote for me.
So today we'll be back on the plane heading for Battleground, Ohio to try to continue normal activities with this Clinton campaign, uncertain of the impact of this FBI probe. Martha?
Mike, thanks.
More on this now. Byron York, chief political correspondent, Washington Examiner, and a Fox News contributor. And Byron, good morning to you. You've been watching and reading for 3 days, as we all have. What does this mean right now, based on what we know?
Wow, this is a huge, new, totally unpredictable factor in this race. We knew that the race was actually tightening before Director Comey's revelation on Friday. Go back to about the time of the last debate, about 12 days ago. Hillary Clinton's lead over Donald Trump in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, national average four-way race, it was 7.1 points. This morning, it's 2.4 points. This race has gotten much closer. It is close in some battlegrounds. The average is exactly tied in Florida. Trump has a little lead in Ohio, but Clinton still has a substantial lead in places like North Carolina and Colorado and Pennsylvania. So, I mean, the race is clearly getting tighter, and this has thrown a huge new unpredictable factor.
Let me just show our viewers a little bit about what you're talking about, okay? Byron, on the map behind us here, where you look at the scenario for trying to get to 270 electoral votes, and we have said for months now that she has the advantage. She has the inside track, right? And Trump has a much more difficult task. But I tell you what, Byron, we keep coming back to Florida. I mean, look where this is right now. This is all the polls put together. She's at 44.4%. He's at 44.4%, all right? My attention keeps going back to Florida and Ohio. It also goes to North Carolina, too, because based on what we're seeing, she apparently has some sort of edge in North Carolina, at least based on the polling. And it's possible that this could be our focus come 8 days from now, Byron.
Absolutely. I was just in North Carolina a few days ago. The Democrats have a very strong effort really pushing early voting there. First Lady Michelle Obama went to North Carolina on Thursday to appear with Hillary Clinton. President Obama is going to be there on Wednesday for Hillary Clinton. So they are really pushing hard. They think Donald Trump absolutely has to win North Carolina. If he doesn't win the presidency.
15 electoral votes, Tar Heel State. Maybe it's the new Ohio. Or Florida, or both. Thank you, Byron. We'll talk later. Byron York, analysis there in Washington. Martha.
So there are 8 days now until this election. Sometimes it feels like it will never be over, and now it feels like it is incredibly close. You've got both campaigns hitting the ground hard today in the battleground states. Donald Trump is in Michigan. We're going to talk about that move with Jason Miller, one of his campaign managers, coming up. His VP, Mike Pence, is in Florida, obviously very important to both campaigns. You've got Hillary Clinton in Ohio today. Her running mate, Tim Kaine, is in the all-important state of North Carolina, as Bill was just discussing with Byron. Of course, the big day is 1 week from tomorrow. Fox News will have complete Election Day coverage all day long, and we look forward to that. Boy, when this came across on Friday afternoon, I think everybody stopped in their tracks and knew that we were dealing with an October surprise, perhaps of a dimension that nobody had anticipated. But we wait and see what's really in here.
And we're going to work through this and try and figure it out best we can. We know the longtime Clinton aide, Huma Abedin, at the center of this latest controversy. How much does she know about the emails in question? We'll talk to Congressman Trey Gowdy. He is standing by live today in his home state of South Carolina.
We're certainly looking forward to hearing from him moments away, so stick around for that. Plus, how will all this impact the balance of power on Capitol Hill? Is there an impact on the down-ballot races from this? A top Republican who is fighting to keep his Senate job, Senator Ron Johnson, will be here to weigh in coming up. Plus this.
The Secretary is right. And that is that the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails.
Thank you. Me too. Me too.
That moment was exactly 12 months and 18 days ago, and the FBI apparently today cares about those emails. To what extent, we wait to hear. Congressman Trey Gowdy, member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committee, is with me live today in Greenville, South Carolina, and thank you for coming back here on America's Newsroom. It's been reported that there could be as many as 650,000 emails on Anthony Weiner's computer. If that is true, can you say that the deleted 33,000 on behalf of Hillary Clinton's own server are part of that cache?
No, sir. I don't think anyone can say that. They can tell you what the metadata says, but I don't even think the Bureau agents have read these emails, and I certainly have not.
Have you considered that possibility?
I hope that all records that are considered public records will ultimately be made available. But keep in mind, Bill, we're talking about decisions that Secretary Clinton made years ago that prompted you to even have to ask that question. I want the entire public record to be complete, whether that's classified information or whether it's a benign email about Yemen. These are public records, and the public is entitled to them.
Is a president-elect under an active investigation on behalf of the FBI, is that individual eligible for a security clearance?
I think so, Bill, under the theory that the ultimate security clearance check takes place on November the 8th. The President of the United States does not have to go through a security background check, just like members of Congress and U.S. senators don't have to go through a background check. If the voters elect someone, that is tantamount to having a security clearance.
So if she wins a week from tomorrow, then she will be privy to whatever national secrets are necessary for Commander-in-Chief to know, correct?
Yes, sir.
On Friday, you issued a statement, and you said Director Comey's statement was instructive. What do you mean by that word, instructive?
Well, Bill, there are other ways the head of the FBI can notify Congress that an investigation has reopened. In other words, his explanation was that he was supplementing the record. He had previously said the investigation was closed. He wanted to avoid the problems that Commissioner John Koskinen has now because he did not supplement the record. My point was he thought it was important enough to not just tell Congress that the matter had been reopened, but also tell the public. And I think the reason he did that, Bill, is keep in mind Secretary Clinton and her acolytes for months now have been saying the FBI cleared me. No wrongdoing. The investigation is over. Well, if she were to continue saying that in the week before the election, Director Comey knows that that is not true. So if he knows it is not true, then why should the rest of us who are having to decide what to do on November the 8th also not know that that is true?
Alberto Gonzales, former Attorney General, was on earlier today. And what he said was that there's very little with this investigation that is consistent with protocol, suggesting how the Department of Justice operates, how the FBI operates. Is that true, sir?
Bill, unusual and difficult facts make for difficult conclusions. But most of these facts were given us by Secretary Clinton, not by Jim Comey. I mean, I'm sure former Attorney General Gonzalez and former Attorney General Holder will tell you that having Loretta Lynch meet with the spouse of the target of investigation on the tarmac is unusual. I am sure they will both tell you that having the current president prejudge the outcome of this investigation while the investigation was ongoing is unusual, and heavens knows having the commander-in-chief actively campaigning for someone who is under FBI investigation is unusual. So everything about this is unusual, and all of it is...
What he went on to say is that since the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, recused herself, that you now have James Comey essentially left to himself to pursue this. That in itself is highly unusual. Has that ever happened before?
Yes, I think it actually has. I think Eric Holder had to recuse himself. Now, Loretta Lynch has a very, very capable top deputy in Sally Yates. So it doesn't go from Loretta Lynch to Jim Comey. There are other people in positions of responsibility in the Department of Justice. It is unusual for an FBI agent to also make charging decisions. The agents make recommendations, and then the prosecutor makes the ultimate decision. So it is unusual, but why are we here, Bill? We're here because Loretta Lynch met with the spouse of the target of the investigation. That's not Comey's fault. That's Loretta Lynch's fault.
Last night, you referred to Senator Harry Reid after he issued a strong statement against the FBI director. You called him a political hack. Do you stand by that today?
Oh, if I can't really use the word I want to use because it would get us in trouble with the FCC. Yeah, so we'll just go. Another candidate to be president of the United States is not a violation of the Hatch Act, then how is Jim Comey supplementing the record and telling the truth to Congress a violation of the Hatch Act? Harry Reid knows that this is not a violation of the Hatch. This is the same guy that went on the floor of the Senate and said Mitt Romney didn't pay taxes. So he is a political hack, and I would say more than that if I weren't going to get fined by the FCC.
Trey Gowdy from South Carolina today. Sir, thank you. We'll see where it goes from here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So the FBI Director James Comey taking heat for the way in which he broke the Clinton email news. Is this unfairly influencing the election? A lot of opinions out there on that. We'll have a fair and balanced debate.
In the meantime, the battle rages for control of Mosul and the battle against ISIS. Now comes word of just how soon Iraqi forces may be inside that ISIS-held city. Stay tuned for more on that. Moving the earth in Italy. Happened Sunday morning. Thankfully, no one was killed, but a medieval tower, ancient Roman walls, and valuable paintings have all been damaged or destroyed. Thousands forced out of their homes. All of this following a devastating quake that killed almost 300 in August, and several strong tremors earlier were felt this month.
Iraqi special forces inching closer to the ISIS-held city of Mosul today. Commanders saying troops are less than a mile from the city limits and could make it there within a matter of hours. Benjamin Hall live in Erbil near Mosul. Benjamin, what's the latest on the offensive today?
Yeah, hi Martha. We're getting updates all the time now. They are getting ever closer to their goal of Mosul itself. Some reports saying a few hundred feet from the eastern city limits. Others saying special forces are already in there. Began this morning as as Iraqi troops began taking back the last ISIS-held town just east of Mosul. And they came under heavy fire even there. The dawn assault saw armored vehicles, including these Abrams tanks, move on the village of Bazwaya as Allied artillery and airstrikes hit the ISIS positions. Again, these airstrikes are playing a crucial role in softening targets ahead of the special forces and the infantry. And today, the Defense Ministry released some videos showing just how effective some of these airstrikes can be. Martha?
So, Benjamin, what can you tell us about the towns that have been liberated on the way to Mosul?
Well, Martha, we're seeing more and more of those now, and we actually found our way to one this morning called Fazilia. We spoke there to people who had lived under ISIS, found out what that was like. We also heard what it was like to get their newfound freedom. The men of this town are queuing up to have their hair cut and their beards shaved off, something that was forbidden under 2.5 years of ISIS rule. So this is where they've all congregated. This is where they're showing their newfound freedom. We also heard how schools were all shut under ISIS, how they indoctrinated children to try and join them, how there were regular house searches, beatings, torture, disappearances, and nobody was allowed cell phones. But one of the interesting things about this town was that it has a population of about 5,000, and there were only 30 to 50 ISIS fighters there. You know, a clear reminder of just how much fear ISIS instilled, that they weren't able to throw them off for over 2.5 years. Martha?
These villages have been through so much, and some relief for some, as others are still in the crossfire and being held as part of this action. Benjamin, thank you very much.
We are hearing from a growing number of lawmakers, many of them Democrats, want to hear directly from James Comey on the latest twist in the Clinton investigation. So what does Comey do now? More on that.
And will the investigation be a game changer on Capitol Hill? Will it affect the elections that hold the balance of power? Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson, in a tough fight of his own in Wisconsin, will be here live. But first, here is Congressman Devin Nunes.
After the several meetings that the Congress had with Director Comey, he was quite clear that the investigation was done and that he would only open it if there was significant information.
Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are now demanding briefings from the FBI on these newly discovered Clinton emails. As all this plays out, the impact could potentially tip enough down-ballot races to change the balance of power in the Senate, which the Democrats are very much hoping to win back. They are targeting a group of vulnerable Republican senators, including Marco Rubio and Kelly Ayotte. You see the rest of them on the screen. But one seat that has been considered a fairly easy pickup for Democrats in Wisconsin has now become somewhat more competitive. The Republican incumbent now closing the gap there in the polls as Democrats pour millions of dollars into this race to hold on to that seat, or to get that seat. Ron Johnson, chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, joins us now. Senator, welcome. Good to have you here this morning.
Good morning, Martha.
Good morning to you. So, you know, a lot of people looking at this news and wondering if it has an impact on those very tight down-ballot races, including your own.
Well, it just might. You know, my opponent, Senator Feingold, might be one of the last remaining Americans who thinks Secretary Clinton is trustworthy. And, of course, he actually has his own email scandal. He was a special envoy of the State Department and communicating with, for example, John Tester, head of the DSCC, probably talking about his election while he was a State Department employee. So we've asked, there have been number 4 requests, I was saying, for 2 years, and the State Department has not released those. But what we're seeing here with this investigation is it was bungled from the start. If you look at the immunity agreements, consider those things to Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson, you would almost have to conclude this investigation was not meant to uncover the truth and prosecute, but more likely to cover up and exonerate. And so this has been bungled. It's pretty simple too, Martha. There's 2 statutes dealing with federal records. You know, you cannot conceal, you can't destroy them. And by the way, that statute is penalized by fines, imprisonment, and disqualification from holding any office of the United States. And then also a statute that deals with any kind of information records dealing with national defense. Both of these things completely apply to Secretary Clinton's situation. I think she's guilty of both.
You have asked Director Comey to testify about this before Congress, and you want him to do that before November the 4th. What's the response from the FBI director?
Well, we'll probably get stonewalled as we have. I'm asking for a briefing. There wouldn't be any testimony before a committee. I want to know. We've been in contact with the Justice Department trying to have them explain what is up with these immunity agreements. I mean, again, this does not look like a serious investigation. And now we're here at the 11th hour. Yeah, I'm not one praising Director Comey for this. I certainly was disappointed that he didn't recommend indictment before. And again, I think he's just completely bungled this investigation.
You know, one of the questions that remains is what's in this email, of course. Hundreds of thousands of them by the indication that we're getting. And, you know, whether or not the president may be involved in any of the back and forth here, I think is an open question as well. Let's replay what the president said a long time ago about how he found out about Hillary Clinton's email server. Watch.
Mr. President, when did you first learn that Hillary Clinton used an email system outside the U.S. government for official business while she was Secretary of State?
At the same time, everybody else learned it through news reports.
What do you think about that, given this new information and what we may see?
Martha, you send emails. When you send an email, you know whether you're sending it to a Gmail account or a state.gov.classification system. President Clinton or President Obama sent emails to clintonemail.com. He had to know that was not a State Department account. Other top-level officials also would have been emailing Secretary Clinton to the clintonemail.com. I think there are a number of people culpable, and I think what this shows is corruption at the highest levels of government, in the White House, in the State Department, in the Department of Justice, and in the FBI. Donald Trump is right. We need to drain the swamp.
Mm-hmm. You have said that you'll support Donald Trump, but that you would not endorse him. Has that changed in light of this?
Listen, I'm a business guy. I'm always trying to accentuate the positive and search for areas of agreement. So on the big things, growing our economy, strengthening our military, it's being hollowed out, actually defeating ISIS, securing our border, appointing judges rather than liberal activists, super legislators. On all those things, I'm in total agreement with our nominee. And you compare the difference between the two people and look at the statute that disqualifies Secretary Clinton from even serving in any federal office, any office of the United States, because she mishandled that information.
All right. Senator Ron Johnson, thank you very much. Great having you with us today.
Have a good day.
All right. Now, we are 36 minutes past the hour. In a moment, we're going to get back to the very latest on what's happening with Comey and whether or not notifying Congress about the new Clinton emails only days before the election was the right move to make. The battle lines are being drawn politically on both sides of this. Fair and balanced debate on that in a moment.
So as you would imagine, Donald Trump is trying to capitalize on this controversy and this news. So can it help him close the gap? How many points might it be worth? One of his top advisors, Jason Miller, joins us with the Trump campaign take on this live.
This could be the mother load, you know? This could be the 33,000 that are missing. This could be the 20,000 that are missing. This could be the 15,000 that are missing.
At the New Orleans airport, look at this disturbing scene as we get a first look at what this was like for these poor people who were terrified. The suspect, Richard White, going through security when TSA agents tried to stop him. He hit the agents with bug spray, pulls out a machete and runs through the checkpoint. The sheriff's deputy then shooting White, who died the next day. All an investigation finding that he was carrying firecrackers and gasoline bombs as well.
10 days out from an election, that he's come under intense criticism from former Justice Department officials who have said this is entirely a breach of protocol. There is a standard that 6 weeks from an election, you don't put out insinuations like this, and all that's in that letter is innuendo.
Robbie Mook, campaign chairman for Hillary Clinton, blasting the FBI Director James Comey. You heard a lot about that over the weekend. He sent a letter to top leaders of Congress less than 2 weeks before the election. The FBI director did, and the former AG Eric Holder calling it a breach of protocol. Some Democrats even saying the FBI director may have broken the law. Katie Pavlich, news editor, townhall.com, Fox News contributor, Marianne Marsh, former senior advisor to John Kerry. And ladies, good day to both of you.
Good morning.
I kind of know where you're both coming from. Before we get there, Katie, what was your initial reaction when this news started breaking on Friday?
My initial reaction is Hillary Clinton is going to try and blame everybody but for herself for this, and we've seen that. We've seen the Clinton campaign try to blame Anthony Weiner, Huma Abedin. We've seen them go after FBI Director James Comey on the campaign trail, when the reality is that Hillary Clinton was the First Lady, a senator, the Secretary of State. She knew the rules, and she decided to break them. And in fact, Huma Abedin repeatedly urged her to use a state.gov email. So she has no one to blame for herself. She's facing the consequences of her actions now as a result, and it's all up to her because of what she decided to do years ago at the State Department.
All right, Marianne, go back to Friday afternoon. I'm certain you did not see this coming.
I don't think anybody did. And it's a stunning set of developments, especially when given the fact, as Robbie Mook rightfully said, this isn't done within 11 days of the election, let alone 6 weeks. So the fact is, the only people who know what is on those computers is James Comey and the FBI. And they should cough it up now, because they've had those computers for weeks now. They've read all that stuff. Anyone who believes otherwise is kidding themselves. So if they haven't, which is unbelievable, then why would you inform Congress? If that's the threshold, two things. Every time James Comey sneezes, he should write a letter to Congress. And if he's going to be fair here, he needs to be informing Congress, who has been briefed for at least a month now on the investigation into the Trump campaign for their connections to Russia, which has been ongoing, and Harry Reid referenced in his letter, rightfully so, yesterday.
Everyone on Team Hillary seems to be on the same talking points memo of turning the back on Donald Trump for his connections to the Russians. But I think it's important to point out that James Comey informed Congress of this, because James Comey took an oath to tell the truth when he was in front of Congress testifying. He told them under oath, if there are significant developments, I will certainly let you know. 650,000 emails on a computer that Huma Abedin used, a computer that wasn't turned over to the FBI, as Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin claimed everything was turned over, is a significant development. So unlike Hillary Clinton, who lies under oath, James Comey was upholding his oath, taking it seriously, and understanding that the American people deserve to know that when someone is under investigation federally, that they deserve to know before they go to the election, to election day.
Marianne?
Katie, 2 points there. To your point exactly, the American voters deserve to know if a candidate is under investigation. Donald Trump's campaign is into Parker and to Manafort. The congressional leaders, Republicans and Democrats, have been briefed on this for weeks now, going back to September, reported in The Hill, September 23rd, number one. Number two, James Comey put himself in this position when he took the unprecedented step of holding a press conference, because what I believe is he wanted to indict her, and the people on his staff who worked on this said there's no evidence there, she did no wrong, and he decided to go out and indict her in the court of public opinion. That's how he ended up under oath in front of congressional committees. That's exactly
Hang on. Eric Holder wrote this, I think it was yesterday. Hang on, quote now. He has allowed, he meaning Comey, again without improper motive, misinformation to be spread by partisans with less pure intentions, without improper motive. I mean, do we know what the motive is yet?
Well, first of all, I think it's
hang on, Marianne. This question goes to Katie. We don't know what the motive is yet. We don't know what they have. Maybe there are thousands of emails on there that are all classified. Who knows?
Going back to my previous point of the fact that this is another device, more emails that Hillary Clinton said were turned over that weren't, is the issue here. And for Eric Holder, the first sitting attorney general to be held in contempt of Congress by both Republicans and Democrats as a result of obstructing an investigation with the Fast and Furious investigation, congressional oversight, he has no credibility when it comes to slamming James Comey, who is simply doing his job to make sure voters have all of the information they need when they go to the polls on election day.
Okay, Marianne?
He's not doing his job, because voters don't have all the information either about Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump's investigations, number one. Number two, you can't tell me when every single day reporters across this country and every outlet is going through hundreds, thousands of WikiLeaks emails and reporting on them. Are you telling me the FBI can't plow through those too? Cough it up,
so Marianne, what you're saying is that this is CYA for the FBI director. And if he wanted to act, he should have several months ago and missed the window. That's the case you're making now.
Yes, but I would point out, Bill, and there's videotape at this network and other places. I criticized that press conference back in July for doing it. It was unprecedented, and he has compounded it every step of the way through Friday, and with those two letters to the Congress and to the FBI, and now he's making more mistakes on top of it.
Hillary did this to herself. Hillary Clinton did this to herself by refusing to follow protocol years ago. She was warned repeatedly. She knew the rules. She broke the rules, and she is solely responsible for the situation she is in today.
We are out of time. Ladies, thank you for your time to both of you. I appreciate the vigor with which you both brought your cases. Marianne, I appreciate the orange and black you're wearing today as well.
Yeah, trick or treat.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks.
Speaking of WikiLeaks, we have more news crossing the wires from the emails that are coming out under that category, so that will come as well. And the FBI's October surprise that we have been digging into, brand new developments this morning involving all of that, including word that the campaign campaign shutting down the Clinton Foundation was something they discussed and were very concerned about, especially with regard to the donations to Morocco. That coming up.
Also, Chicago lives to see Clinton. Are they say now is taking heat from both sides. Racing from day. Car rubbers round stands and
are now in the cusp of incredible change, transform from a political establishment.
Hey, investigations email. It was a bombshell that happened the weekend while he's on and push and whether the I'm Martha. You didn't even notice.
The FBI director told me this new before. Here is what we think. Clinton and of Weiner. My initial top shop found a now state to one source carried a laptop was smart all over as well. Secretary Clinton on Sunday.
Could be Sutherland. You know, could be the 1,000 that are missing, 1,000 that are missing. You go there, sing a big 650. What do you have to do 600? This one. If a week this have 60,000 emails.
Meanwhile, showing a likely now because of this news. The party should be it is bomb covers the day this on Friday. Occasions have been here. When you hear the news Friday.
And it been the six the Clinton, but when we really was that this really now is news. Even yesterday that there was this laptop. I mean, us. To go that it was. This is 150 secretary. At least as far as the story.
Question about the FBI's initial investigation wouldn't have been of all. Play another candidate down.
Number one person to Anthony Weiner. Okay.
Back in pointing out security relationship. Told Mr. Trump.
August 1st, 2000. same security issue. And there, like I said before, it really goes to this issue of what was the FBI's evidence. He's out. I think there's.
So let's talk about how and lies stay focused on spread.
Well, last week, 60 out the big shot with Doug and what was New Mexico tomorrow. Mr. Trump routinely and 3%, 40, and so Mr. Lee and these Florida North of everyone. Also, we all pick up, but Mr. And that's is that if you look from the 2000 it's a lot, especially for states that's been hard manufacturing.
Argument that you guys made all along that the law and certainly 2000, but it held that one up in the poll on the fact of the good feeling that has to explain of the poll, given that it's
where things are much, and so Mexico acting a dead show, Michigan a dead very tough race show pen. Let's look at votes cast about where Republican turnout is up about
Republican
votes. That's a
reported that in turn this when things what is in terms of his own how much
over this voter Gettysburg civic days. Big part of that is terminal from BS.
That's what I'm getting at. It's nervous in his junction. Do you?
Absolutely. And Mr. Messenger, this is a move. That is,
hanging in there. And thank you. To go. It has brought us out coming in.
In the meantime, Martin is is major talking point. That Pickens and John have now on.
You could probably was the thing. All you have to look at this news tracking poll about it's not the rate point at Hillary Clinton for was yesterday more for Donald Trump. A week. Look at some of the cross test. You pick up information. Look at the unvulnerable rating. less word point than Darcy, not statistically significant. Also, 89%, that's percent. Again, but watch this. And for Hillary Clinton, enthusiasm, see this FBI. The is the one that spot on Hillary Clinton right now to do everything we can. At the same time, election campaign came along. That should have known. Setting grid, Colorado.
Can you threat to the but in days people talk about and let's talk at
which is back in 2012. Democrats, Ronald Reagan.
Painfield. That's true.
Well, you heard and I think he's Florida for looking at absentee by about 1,000. The Democrat they had by 41 person, which gives Republican advantage of the ballot. Everybody votes, but they do picking up on this idea. So many people say in their don't screw this up in this last week. In fact, more than they want Kellyanne Conway would cut fit him with control.
All right, John. Thank you, Jeff. Again, quick week. One, make sure America all on election day. Richard McConnell is almost finally. Yeah.
He's CPR. Those cases. Polls probably play in the morning. Us, they're not this. The FBI director in a, but now they are not serious about me anymore. Clinton can't him, and so is the smart
new week this morning. Half was to the more than ago.
Doing a tight of the key battle road Hillary Clinton down.
Takes to find this game than football, but exciting.
Thinking about voting for you've got Trump stage intervention.
Week to go till Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. New battleground numbers round out. In our, let's take a look here. Is a Donald Trump and the this is the North Carolina 47. As you can critical in the Florida state. Same poll. Hillary Clinton well within the margin. Neck and Carl Ryan. President George. Good morning. Well, good to have. How do you characterize?
Rapidly, let's take a look at politics average. Two ways. Yep. As you started at the dreadful at 2.7 in the real to the first a little bit 7th of October 7 Friday 2.9. Without all of the races, naturally going to days of a campaign, but will close and on election. Your dishes. You use using the way, using the which it's in why since the poll he's let him the top and in the real average. Trying to think here, Florida. Jimmy, from perspective, he takes the states with 29 in order to get there. Give those all Columbia that have voted for 200. If she Florida 270 he's president. So when Florida to keep alive, Florida got other. If she went, keeps president.
Strategy that again are.
I'd be very all and that state is has very around. Hard to believe we've orphaned Mexico under North Texas had in southeast Mexico and even called it's so we'll know short day well spent but it's in three states are leaning to be when on the other hand that's close and it turns
yes. All right, Carl, thank
New York 20 wall after. How was the Fox analyst Howard Kurtz has been watching and he
and it's on to in an Aleppo with the it's himself in this story.
In East Jerusalem.
And it in and trying to could be for usual phase of election in here.
Very interesting. So King $1 million on we condition fly to and run global and event there with 5-day sun issue concern just allow a few more 17 quote this is why Morocco such a problem of this her conference with and that 23 or Indonesia big problem. And a second was found where another talking about instead of calling it want to say, and Houston's CGF for the outward is, here they are. Saying, maybe we, instead of from the king fees, Martha V.
So we're all official. Administration is very concerned. She became.
Remember the presidential paid. It's just all about good. All works. Joel Bennett is in an email again. Journal brought me the story. Foreign donation. Bennett's quote: "There is a strategic, and that had it stops wanting quickly." Or much shutting the whole shutting down thing. Talking is interesting. Saying that the 12 million report about coming in because the leading Fox company in even and disclosed where exploded.
Yeah. About how to the
world. Good. We're not worried about it.
About how you
Comey in the middle right now. Just officials including the quote and presidents 7 days election leaves us both. I'm Trey from Smith, Carolina, slamming claim that to announce this new phase.
This is not. This is. Going to get
the judge here and our governor, former wife, George of the book, man, governors and the politics with you for the legal to you. FBI was wrong.
Believe company. Regulation process an investigation evidence just the judge ballot within or
wow. Evidence is coming that he
perplexed at the time letter.
They were looking at the king
hadn't about they seen the law that are Clement emails that Anthony his top authorizing the emails and his email night that him share there's specialist leaving me a letter So I give it value. And you don't want
What is your plays? A new president a week.
It's the shame is political. This does the next is going to and culture of conception through is now and seeping through the whole party. How the why Virginia to rate Terry McAuliffe, a senator. She was director culture that they have to deal with in the next.
Okay, so was it wrong? Do you agree? Pointed.
He was place. This was going to Friday out if it was leaked. Furious. Did that, and I think FBI, the FBI, Friday.
He was in on the Comey. Yeah, because he of the July. Her when the guilt that her is over.
Saying he.
That's this. Not given enough for it to. That is the that. This. Their Dean email. ISIS. The director's chair. I would. That is the depth of the it goes to thing. Congress.
I haven't seen or heard us. Wiener, but the FBI is the door entered.
Thank you. It is, but to you. You said, Mark, what's next?
July, Democrats Comey email investigation to different 3 months. Debate that. As you may remember, the Clinton campaign and other Democrats sang FBI Director James Comey's praises when he cleared Hillary Clinton on July 5th of any charges.
Let me just say this about Director Comey first. This is a great man. We are very privileged in our country to have him.
I want to begin by commending you and the public servants at the FBI for the independent investigation.
I greatly appreciate the work that the FBI and Department of Justice did, and they handled it very professionally.
The FBI, under the direction of a wonderful and tough career public servant, Jim Comey, somebody with the highest standards of integrity.
What is